I often ask at a certain point these people who I have the privilege of being with, who've been through so much. I said, how did you do it? They think it's a crazy question.
Yeah.
And it's an open, rhetorical question, maybe to loosen some cement.
Right.
And at one point, one of them was criticized because I've been in the Muslim community very long and I have a Jewish background, about hanging out with this Jew who was working with them. And I said, well, how do you deal with that? And he said, well, first of all, if you go into a room full of Palestinians, we really know the difference between politics and love. And in the Quran and in the Hadith, they talk about niyyah, beautiful Arabic word. It means the intention behind the heart. And that's what God sees. They have another saying, if you pray 1,000 times a day and your heart is not clean, and if you serve, your heart is clean.
Right.
So often, this is also this kind of group healing and acknowledgement.
Right, right. In most cultures, actually most cultures that are more community-oriented or family-oriented, which are the majority of cultures on the planet, different from what we call nuclear families in the Western world, where we need individual space and we go to therapy in private. In most cultures, they would do their therapy actually together in community. If there's a problem with the community, it means the whole community needs to talk about it. If there's a problem with one individual in the community, that means the whole community must talk about it. And so there's a concept that's very different from what we would have in the Western world, which is much more common than individual as we've become in the Western world. And so I find that they, by their nature, have built in to their communities natural healing processes and even their own, in a sense, psychotherapeutic process where they're talking about the problem or the problem person or the situation until they talk it through to a healing stage.
Every culture, I was once with a wonderful therapist who spoke a little bit from everywhere. You know, he was a taekwondo master and he studied Jung, and it's actually Stephen Gilligan. And he once, he's in California, he once said that every culture, in some form, you have the ritual where everyone gets together and makes this shield and plays their drums.
Right.
Even if it's a meeting, even if it's in the Western world.
Right.
Think of the Count Basie band, you know, making that stuff and bang. Think of James Brown, you know. Think of all these constellations of energy. Not really us against you. We have our wall, we do it, we empower, and we share.
Yeah. Well, what I believe happens is that as we are traumatized in our cultures, and all of us are in some way or other, we actually, whether we know it or not, find ways of self-soothing. And many of them are healthy ways of self-soothing, not using, you know, drugs or alcohol or some sort of substance, but self-soothing through maybe a community band or some organized behavior pattern that becomes socialized, but we don't even recognize it as self-soothing. But it's very, very common that these kind of grow up within a culture themselves. So I think we have built within us both the ability to experience traumatic events and the ability to find our way towards healing of those traumatic events.
Okay. Well, it's coming in a moment, right after the break, will be about two questions that are basic. One is, if all this is dynamic, because you're not talking much about illness.
No.
I'd like to talk a little bit about wellness, transformation, flight, that good stuff.
Okay.
Okay?
Fine.
Another question is, do you think if this recording didn't work, we'll get traumatized or not? We'll have to get on the mattress?
You may become traumatized. I'll be okay.
Oh, so you're ahead of the game. Good for you. Okay.
Well, this is all your effort and work. I'm just sort of enjoying the chat with you.
So. Yeah, I know. Doing it for the world. Good stuff. Okay, let's see if we can... This will be the last one.